public school systems, and one of the most criminal things I learned, which is why I stepped out of the education public school in Chicago, is if you're a child that have a gift, mentally gifted, especially if you're a male, it's really attack on the male students,
Yeah.
particularly the minority male students. Where if you show aptitude for intelligence early, they automatically say either you're daydreaming or you're ADHD. They don't
Yeah.
factor. They you know they don't factor in the fact that you might be intelligent and the teacher is too slow at teaching. You might need to go to the next level. They want
Yeah.
to kill that early. And another thing is financially speaking, it's no money, it's not as much money as it was back in the 70s and 80s as for a mentally gifted student. They defunded that out of the public school. Now, however, if you're ADHD or mentally what they call a behavioral discipline problem, or you actually have a mental I don't know what it's called now, intellectually disadvantage, or what we used to call mentally retarded. If
Yeah.
you're that, you get twice the money. The state or the school gets twice them. So now it's more of an incentive to put
Send them.
everybody in special ed. You see what I'm saying? So that's where the
Yeah.
problem. That's why I'm such an advocate for private education or whatever. But Mr. Two Extra, we got him in the house. How you doing, good brother? We're gonna bring you in
Uh,
on this topic here.
I'm all right. I'm all right. I'm sorry for being late.
Oh no, you're good. You're good. We got Mr. Two Extra in the house. Eric here with us.
What's
Drop.
up, Eric?
Yep.
Good to see you, Mr. Two Extra.
Yep.
Yes, yeah. You see, I got an Eric done right here. Got an
I
Eric.
see.
So,
Yeah, you
I
got.
see you. You trimmed it up after you
Yeah.
after you
yeah,
commented on mine.
yeah.
Yeah. Now,
We
Mr.
staying in the flow.
Absolutely. I was able to ask Eric where he's from. He's from the somewhat Midwest, or Southern, like I am. I'm from the Midwest, Illinois, East, Knoxville. Where are you from, Mr. Two Extra?
I'm from Virginia.
Oh, nice. Okay. You in God's country too, huh?
And
Y'all Southern folk called I feel like all the Southerners call their state God's country. I was just picking on Eric about that.
I don't know about that.
What part of Virginia you from? I got a couple buddies out there.
I'm from a place called Danville, Virginia, is where
Okay.
I was born from.
Gotcha.
But they said Virginia's for lovers. But if you was to look, you would see that Virginia had the most divorce rate out of all states.
I'm not too surprised about that, especially
But
with all feminist stuff going on. I'm not too surprised. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
yeah, I'm just saying, and we're supposed to be the place for lovers. That's our slogan.
Really? I didn't even know that. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, Virginia's for lovers. That's what they say.
Okay. And were you born out there?
Yeah. I was born in Virginia, and I'm still in Virginia. I'm trying to get out of the place I'm in now, leave Virginia altogether. That's what I'm
Okay.
trying to do.
Why do you want to leave?
Um, I'm tired of it. Number one, and the place that I'm at is not big enough for me. You
Okay.
know.
What now? Are you staying south if you move, and where did you want to move to if you move?
Well, I'm thinking about maybe Texas, Atlanta. I'm not quite sure.
Okay,
What's up,
those are
Galen?
the spots because those are places I'm actually looking at right now. And I'm asking you this. I love the Southerners mentality, how they live. As I talked to Eric about, because I'm moving south pretty soon, probably in the next 2 or 3 years I'll be south. But
Mhm.
I just love the mentality that you got, the self-reliance, family values. Up north, man, they teach all us about going to college and getting in debt. You know what I mean? Like they
Yeah,
completely take side of they invalidate family values for the most part. I'm sure it's places here and there, but I feel like more of the Southern mentality, they value the family a little more. And Virginia, man, Virginia, man, those it's some strong people out there, brothers and sisters of the black community that's from Virginia. And I love how you guys make everything mean and more important. You know what I mean? Like, oh man, we might not have a whole lot of money, but we can eat. You know, we got good sunlight, we got good weather, we can farm. I love that mentality. Now, I don't know if you ever been up north, but how would you
yeah.
say the difference between north and south is?
Well, I'm gonna tell you, I've been a lot of places. I got family in New York, Manhattan, and the Bronx. But when I went to North Philly was one of the eeriest places I've been. I wasn't scared, man. Don't get me wrong, I wasn't scared. I'm not scared of to be in any hood or any place, but it just had a different vibe in any place I ever been to.
Mm-hmm.
North Philly. And like I said, I've been to New York, the Bronx, Manhattan. That's where my family's from. I'd have been to Atlanta. But North Philly, it has a totally different vibe. When I first went there, and all the houses are straight together. There's no grass, no front yard, really no backyard, no parking space, really. It's one parking space, and if you got 5 cars, you out of luck. You know, so it was just a very eerie feeling for me to be there. But the good thing about it was I loved the Philly State there. The Philly State was good, and
Oh man.
the Philly State was good, and the women was good. That was
Hey,
just
hey, there we go. Hey, there we
right.
go. I feel like food is always like that. That curves all issues. You know what I mean? Thank you,
Yeah.
Gail, for the subscription and the donation. Thank you. If any lady would like to hop on, hey, I mean, just let me know and I'll send you an invite. To because we need the female perspective to balance things out here, or whatever. But that's pretty good. I would say the same thing about y'all. Y'all ladies are very old school in Virginia. Well, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I've always had the perception that women in the South are a little more acquiesce, because I don't like to say submissive. Submissive has a negative connotation to it. I like to say they're more cooperative with the men versus the northern women tend to be more sophisticated and independent. And I got a college education and I don't need no man and da 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 da. So a bit with Mr. Two Extra, what would you say to that?
Well, I would say that the northern women they got tough exterior. You know what I'm saying? They're submissive to the man, but it's a tough exterior that like let's say, let me give you an example. A woman from the north, if I was to step to her and ask her to go on a date or what's her name, she might give me a little attitude. I go up to her and I say, hey baby, what's your name? Why you want to know my name? But by the way, my name is Kay. You know what I'm saying? They'll give you a little static and then they give you a name. And the sudden you ask a woman what her name is, and she'll be like, Kay. But
Yeah,
that's they're more bubbly, but they do have, don't get me wrong now, women is soft, they got some attitudes now. There's some attitudes with the woman down here, but it's not as smart mouth, I guess you'd say.
okay. Do
And
you think
it's
that
a
that's
lot.
more of an education thing? Like the women that tend to be more educated, do you think that's like no matter where you live in the country, do you think the education just changed their perspective on how much they feel they need a man?
Well, yes, I do think that somewhat that and the job they have and having their own business and used to wearing the pants. There are single mothers out there that used to wearing the pants and the dress because they had to. They had to play both roles. You know what I'm saying? They have to play both roles. And when they meet a man who's willing to be a man and step in, they want to keep the dress and the pants on. They don't want to give the pants up. You
Right,
know, and that's what I have found to be happening. And as I had grew and tried to talk to women that they wanted to be submissive and they try to be submissive, but they so used to take giving orders that they can't take orders. You know what I'm saying?
right,
They're so used to telling people what to do. They're so used to doing this for their kids. It's hard for them to release their pants.
right,
They want to keep both on. You know,
right.
and that's when a man get kind of frustrated. Okay, well, I'm trying to tell you something. I'm the smartest man, and you might be right about some things, but I do know some things too.
Right.
I do have my own opinion. You can't tell me, what I feel and what I don't feel is right or correct simply because it's not what you're used to. It's not what
Absolutely.
you are willing to adapt to, and that's what relationships is. You have to give and take.
Yep.
And there's a lot of females and men my age, they're just set in their ways,
Absolutely.
and
Yeah.
when you get set in your ways, it's hard to find somebody.
That's a good point. That's a great point. Eric, I just want to bring you back in the conversation here as well. I meant to ask you, and I don't mean to be disrespectful when I say this, but what's your nationality? Because I like to have the non-black perspective too, so I can understand. Like, is it like are your women different than our women type? You know what I mean? Like, I want to bridge the gap of the misunderstanding. But what's your are you mixed or what are you exactly? If you know.
Right, right. I'm pretty much just straight up Caucasian. But yeah, it's very interesting. Like when Mr. Two Extra was talking, right before you asked him where he lived, and I didn't really know where he was living currently. I kept getting Texas, 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 and then he said Virginia, and I was like, oh well, I was way off. And then you asked him where he's thinking about moving, and he says Texas, and I'm like, oh, or Atlanta, which I find that interesting too because those are two big cities as well. Well, I'm not saying where in Texas he wants to go, but I've got people in Texas and they're kind of complaining about Texas, and I got people in Atlanta and they're kind of complaining about Atlanta. But I feel like Mr. Two actually really said something that was kind of laid on my heart a little bit there. I feel like every situation is unique in its own right. And I think he really nailed a nail on the head there where, and I think it's not even just, well, he said women and men, but, when we get set in our ways, and I feel like if we look at it from the bigger perspective and see that, like we were talking about earlier, how it's almost dynamically, the family's been ripped apart. It's kind of like we've been set opposite one each other, like you said, polar opposites. So I feel like it's more about being able to understand where the person is right now in the moment, where they have been in the past, and what kind of goals and where they see themselves going in the future, and being able to have that exchange, that investedness in you know communication and co-creating a better future, so that you can take in what each other one's saying, because usually what I've found through spirits teaching is we come into other people's frequencies to be taught lessons, and so maybe it is for us to soften up that part of us, or maybe we need to harden up this part of us, or set boundaries where we weren't setting boundaries before, or take down some of the walls that we might have built up. So um, I feel like, though, women on general have gotten the shaft, and like Mr. Two actually was saying, they've been having to put on the pants and wear the dress at the same time for quite a few decades. So I feel like it is our responsibility as a man to come in and feel that out. And if the woman can respect us and operate and maybe see where we might be able to bring something to the table that they haven't had yet, to be open enough to do that. And if not, then maybe it's just not going to work, and it was more of a lesson of for yourself.
Absolutely. I 100% agree. And Mr. Two, actually, I'm going to ask you a few things that I've already asked
Hmm.
Eric as we were waiting for you to join us on the show here.
Okay.
And that's um, as it relates to how much our government really keeps us on a rat race of working a corporate job and trying to lock us in that system of we have to accept a role. Like, for example, let's say the men are stereotypically are labeled as the breadwinners, whereas I think it don't matter who's got the job, whoever's at work. If the others at home, they're responsible for all the home thing. I don't see what's wrong with the give and take and why I got to be these old, outdated labels put on how I structure my home. What does it matter to you? You know what I mean? Like the government.
Yeah.
So what would you attribute to? Do you think two questions? Do you think the government really like grind us down and burn us out? Well, we don't even want to come home and take care of self, exercise. We're not in the mood to cook or things like that. And the second question is, as far as the role, do you think it's necessary to put a label on a role what a man versus a woman does or contributes?
Um, well, I'm old school, man. I'm a gentleman in heart, so and I don't think chivalry is dead. So I do believe that the man should be the breadwinner. I feel that if the woman gives 100%, the man need to give 110%. That's just the way I am. If I happen to be in a relationship and she happen to make more money than I do, then I got to make up the difference money that she makes in something else. Whether it be cooking, whether it be cleaning, whether it be whatever it is, I got to make up the difference in something, because I am the head. As long as she respects that, I'm not saying I want her to be a slave or a yes woman, but as long as she respect that I am still the man, and we make decisions together. I think that's where people fail to realize, and they think that submissive means to be slave. No, the only time I really want my woman submissive is in the bedroom. I don't want no yes woman, you know what I'm saying? But that's the only place I want her submissive, in the bedroom. But other than that, we do everything together. We make decisions together. We do
Absolutely.
everything 50-50. And see, this is where you come up to see if she's wifey or knifey. You find out which one she is. You know, you find out which one she is when things like that happen. You know,
Absolutely.
yeah.
That's interesting. Wifey or knifey? You know I'm gonna have to borrow that one now too, extra.
Oh
I have
yeah, go right ahead. Go right ahead. Go right
now.
ahead, man.
This is something I can ask y'all both at the same time because this is something I didn't get to yet. But um, something that's very strange to me, and maybe as Southerners y'all would disagree with this, but to me, I'm not as far as what I identify as politically. I'm nor a Republican or a Democrat. I'm a centrist. I do lean more Republican on certain things as far as because I'm very economical minded. What's best? What's the most efficient thing for us to do as a country? I'm always so that's more of a conservative thing. So, of course, both sides do stuff that I think makes absolutely no sense. But
Mm.
um, one thing that really drives me insane about the left, specifically the far left, is how a lot of them seems to have a phobia towards self defense, and that's strange to me because I think beyond like, okay, let's say we had because I'm not ideally I would never want to have to fight a war if it's not necessary. It's wasteful. It makes absolutely no sense to me. It's a waste of money in every way. It's destructive. Waste of resources. All that good stuff. So, however, I'm very realistic and understand this terrain that we live on was not always occupied by just us. It's been animals that's been here way longer than we have. So if it comes down to protecting your family and a beast walks up, if you don't have no firearm, you don't have no arrows, how are you going to protect yourself? And I feel like a lot of them have a very irrational or just been misinformed about weapons in general. Because I'm an advocate, I'm a gun owner, and I'm an advocate for weaponizing yourself if need be, or if the government for whatever reason want to get silly and come in your house without authorization, you might have to put them down because they didn't get authorization to come in your house. So it don't matter which. I guess Eric can go first since Two Extra was the last one that spoke. Um, what do you think, or do you think that uh, firearms are misunderstood, or do you think people should be more, aware and weaponize themselves? What do you think, Eric?
Oh man, it's a really big question. Me personally,
Be right back, gentlemen.
yeah. I'm at a place in my life where I'm not even physically capable of to operating and maintaining a firearm. I would love to be able to operate and get back to that. In my younger days, I've shot every weapon from an elephant gun to a M16 to German officers 9mm with the blue steel, so I can appreciate all kinds of firearms. Coming back to our government and how the founding fathers even said that we shouldn't ever have a standing military, we should only ever have a militia. And the fact that we do have a standing military and that standing military is now off shooting all of its components onto our police. I feel like the it should be respected and it should be acknowledged that you know yes, the Constitution was written to be able to procure your food and stuff and protection from animals, but I definitely have to go with protecting from your own government or law enforcement if they come into your establishment without a clear warrant. So I feel like, if the military has these weapons and they shouldn't be standing, they should be relying on a militia, that would be us as a people. Then we should be able to do the exact opposite. If there is a standing military, we should be able to arm ourselves with anything that would protect us from that military ever coming to offense with ourselves. But however, once I've gotten to this position where like I say before, I couldn't even really operate and maintain a weapon like I used to. And I've become more aware of my spiritual awarenesses. I would have to say that I would be able to see trouble coming before it came,
Mm-hmm.
and therefore I should be able to avoid it. And that's the way Spirit's been guiding me. But sometimes I do have to go through certain experiences, different accidents. So I don't know exactly where that comes to, but I do feel like as a nation, the left is very like follow the leader, and we need to be led, and we need to trample down all these things, and they don't really come to a more sovereign attitude or understanding. And I do consider myself conservative. I'm not left or right. I'm right up the middle, because I believe they're both two wings of the same bird, just
Sure.
getting us there in different fashion. But I feel that my conservative is my definition of that is using the least amount of anything to get the most out of something, and to do it with following the golden rule, and that is to do unto others as you do unto yourself. So I don't want to get oil if it's going to ruin all the people downstream's ability to have fresh water. That kind of mentality. So yeah, sorry, that was a little
No, no, that's
long-winded.
great. Yeah, that's a great.
Great, great.
Mr. Two, actually, I would like you to follow up on that with your opinion of the exact same situation.
I believe that you should be able to protect your family and from anyone, whether it be animal or people. I do understand that there are some people that have guns that have bad intentions, but that's with everything. There's good and bad in everything, So it's hard to wave out the good and bad because you don't know which is good and which is bad. And then everybody's wearing a mask, so it's still even harder to tell who's the good guy and who the bad guy with the
Right.
mask on. I do feel that it should be maybe somewhat a limit to how many guns you might be able to have. Maybe. I say that, but then I don't know. Because my theory of what yet to come and all the conspiracy theories that I have, what yet to come, you're gonna need all the guns that you can get. Say you're gonna need a gun and you're gonna need a dog, you're gonna need a cat, you're gonna need a bird, something that can let you know that something's far away before it gets there, so you
Sure.
can prepare yourself for what's going to happen. We don't hear things long distance, but those animals I just mentioned, they hear things far away and they will warn you, and you can start preparing yourself and you can start getting things set up. You can start entrapping people, as the police said. Entrapment, you can start entrapping and placing things all over your house where if you had to run and reach for one, you have one. Go up under the bed if you had to get that far, or you whatever your distance that you get, or whoever's with you can make it too, but that's the last resort. You want to be able to negotiate, talk, you
Yeah.
know, rationalize if you can, but it's some people you can look in the eye and tell there's no rationalization going on here. It's just
Absolutely.
no.
Yeah.
You can look in the eyes and the way that they walk and the way they carry themselves. That this is going to be a fight here,
Absolutely.
and then you have to prepare yourself for a situation like that. Can you pull that trigger if you had to? You
Right.
know, can you pull that trigger and kill that person if you had to?
Absolutely.
And how many times do you think you can pull that bullet in your mind and in your mind get away with it the night after you do it, or the hour after you do it?
Hmm.
That's the thing that you have to think of once you do that. It's not the fact that you can pull the trigger, it's what you got to deal with after you pull the trigger.
The consequences.
The
Hmm.
consequences, whether it be good or bad, the
Absolutely.
consequences is what's going to get you, and that's what's going to get your soul. And now I said at one time a broadcast, a Muslim cousin of mine told me that when we get to Judgment Day, that our body is going to speak for us, either good or bad. So that
Hmm.
means my hand's going to tell God what I did, whether it was good or bad.
Absolutely.
So if I shot that man and it won't self-defense, my hands is going to say that. My hands
Right.
going to say, well, he shot that man without, it won't self-defense. He just shot him in cold blood. And that's something that you're going to have to deal with here, there, the afterlife, all of that. When you sin, you're going to have to deal with all of that. And so,
Absolutely.
but
That's
I do believe while you're on earth, you should be able to protect your family at all costs from anything.
up with not fully understanding how to properly use a firearm or understand the regulations of. I feel like we take those very bad extreme examples and say, okay, this is why we shouldn't have guns. I can make an extreme example out of anything. You know what I mean? I can say why you shouldn't have sex. That don't mean it's not healthy and stimulating for the body, because health is a form of exercise, which is why if you have it right, you're gonna be tired when you through. You know what I mean? If you had the
Yeah,
right
it's,
time
it's
to say,
yeah, it's a
yeah,
stress reliever. I always
exactly.
say, let me go in and get rid of some stress. I need to get rid of some stress myself now. But
you know, but like a
hey,
lot of people's understanding of things is just wrong. Of course, nobody, I don't think anybody with any level of intelligence that's an adult will say, give this manic psychopath a weapon that just got out of jail for murdering people. Of course, there has to be regulations. And I think that even with cops, the people that don't get much question for guns because their job, that's part of their job. That's their toolbox to have a gun. So we're less likely to question cops about having a gun. But I think some of the most necessary revisions as far as firearm laws needs to be enforced on cops, because a lot of them, I'm a believer that how are you a cop? Like let's going into the military. To me, if you are a fearful person, you probably should not be working in a job where you have to shoot weapons. You know what I mean? If you just want, like, if you're a jumpy or a fearful or you're a coward, I was trying to avoid saying coward, but I couldn't think of a better word. If you're a coward, why would you be a police officer? Do you know how many people get killed because cops are scared? Now, I do believe that they're actually scared, but you don't have no business being no cop if you're scared. If you can't control, because I believe a lot of us say martial arts or whatever, or martial law. Let's break that down, what that really means. For you to be into martial arts, that means martial arts is controlling oneself first. You have to have before they teach you any type of karate, what they teach you, self-discipline, correct? Before you learn any type of stripe, anything. What's that?
I said they teach you the concepts that helps you with your awareness of energy and
Absolutely.
how to keep your stress down so you won't use the karate, supposedly use the karate out of anger.
Absolutely.
Supposedly.
So that's something that cops need to be taught. People need to be taught, educated properly, how to use. That's like if you give a kid matches. A lot of people say you shouldn't give a kid matches. I agree that you shouldn't give a kid matches, but when they get a certain age, they need to be learn about gas and how to cook and what is used to the pros and cons of gas. If you had them fearful of it forever, it might cost them their life. What if they out camping somewhere? They don't know how to make a weapon or they don't know how to make a fire. That could be that's a decision between life and death. And your irrational fear of because of whatever you've been raised and told might have just took a valuable lesson where that could cost them their life down the line. So I think that's what a lot of people get the word of blockage is with a lot of people, that they think weapons are bad because of the way they've been taught about it. You know what I mean? It's a way, right and wrong way to teach anything.
Yeah. And then plus the accidents of guns going off for people not cleaning it properly or trying to do something with the gun, knowing good and well you can't clean the gun that way, and they do it anyway. And I mean,
yeah, absolutely. I'm sorry, Eric. Were you trying to say something?
I'm sorry, Eric.
Oh no. I was just agreeing. Yeah.
Okay, good. Now, this is kind of random off the top, but I have to know before I forget, Mr. 2 Extra. Why is your name Mr. 2 Extra? That sounds like something a woman that you made really upset gave.
Well, really, the name that was given to me from the Dragon Squad from a old girlfriend of mine. She used to call me 2 Extra, saying that basically I was doing too much, that I was saying too much, I was acting over dramatizing, basically.
Yeah.
So she gave me the name Mr. Extra, but then I went to another app to try to join this app, and I couldn't put in Mr. Extra because somebody else already had it. As a joke, I put in Mr. 2 Extra, and that name seemed to catch more than any name that I ever had. So now I bought the name, and now it's my name.
Nice.
So,
I like it. Yeah. That's interesting because Eric, what did I leave you saying? I said it sounded like a woman gave it, and then what did he say? He said a woman. I just a woman gave him the name. That just sounds like something that a woman just gave you, And I think I saw on your profile that are you a Taurus, Mr. Tour? I thought I saw something like that on your thing.
No, I'm a Capricorn.
Oh, nice. I like Caps. I get along really well with Caps too. Yeah, I'm a Cancer sun sign, so I get along with Caps really well. Dez is laughing because she know I'm right or whatever. So that's interesting. That's good that you're able to.
But see, a lot of women think it's because of something else, and they be trying to inbox.
I need to get this
inbox.
Yeah.
So sometimes I don't say nothing. I just let them fly with it. Let it go. Let it run.
I should have knew with the brown that you're a Capricorn. Brown is like a Capricorn thing. I should have kind of figured that. Or Eric, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm also very into the zodiacs. I don't know if y'all seen it, but I've done a couple episodes on that as well. But Eric, I'm usually pretty 90% guessing people's astrology. I'm getting a very watery Pisces vibe from you. Are you a Pisces?
Yes, sir.
I knew you was a Pisces. I can feel it. I knew you were a Pisces. I could just feel the energy of just everything. Is that you in your profile picture, Eric? Or is that a picture that you use that you like? Is that you?
That's me. I just yeah, Mr. Two Extra was commenting. He saw me in a live right after I whacked the beard off, and he's like, "Oh man, what'd you do?" He's just like,
No, you just look so much darker in this picture. I thought you were black at first. Like,
"Oh, I had the upper part of my face done in like war paint."
yeah.
I've got a well, I use shungite powder from the crystal shungite, and I
Mm-hmm.
just took the powder and used it to put on my skin because I've got a web page on my Facebook called the Wounded Warrior,
Mm-hmm.
No More as in NO, and then No More as in KNOW. So I'm no longer a wounded warrior as I heal myself. But if you want to know more about the Wounded Warrior and how I'm healing that, then follow this page. So that was just a video that I did for that page, and
Nice.
everybody kind of liked it. And I was like, okay, kind of goes with the whole shaman look and stuff.
Gotcha. It's a cool look. Not that it matters that you're not black. I just thought you were black based off the profile. It doesn't matter.
Eric's good. Eric's
Yeah,
good.
it's cool. Yeah, I like it. Now we're gonna get into a little bit of rocky territory here, fellas. So I hope everybody's comfortable with this next discussion that we're gonna discuss here. Is the influence of the LGBT community over all forms of life, specifically art. What is we're gonna start with you, Mr. Two Extra. What's your views, or do you think it's getting a little out of hand? And of course, I can go with my views. And if you're not comfortable talking about, that's fine too. But I like to ask everybody about this just to gauge people's interest about it.
Thank you, Thank you, Desiree. I appreciate that. Now, when you said the LB, we're talking about the gay community. That's what we're talking about, right?
But not just gays, like transgender,
Transgender.
all
Okay.
of that, all of it. Yeah, yeah.
Well, okay. I got a couple things to say. First of all, my daughters, they are together, you know what I'm saying? But here's my thing. The thing that I have with transgenders and boy divas is this. They try to think that every straight guy wants them, and they try to push themselves on every straight guy. You know, I don't
Really?
want you. I don't want you. I'm not looking at you. I'm not thinking about you. We didn't have a moment. We didn't have anything. You know what I'm saying? We can talk on an app like this together, but we can't chill together and drink some drinks together because I don't know where your mind gonna go once you get drunk. You know what I'm saying? And I hate to, I hate to have to, fight you, and because you're trying to get all over me or you're trying to act all womanish, you know what I'm saying? Because I know a guy who he was manly until he started drinking. Once he started drinking, he became a female. You know what I'm saying? In his
What?
actions, his voice and stuff. And I had to, I didn't have to do anything, but I had to step away because I'm like, this ain't going good, man. I'm gone, man. Y'all can stay here with him all you wanna, but I'm not staying here. But it depends on, I guess, it depends on what you've been through, what you've been through. There's some people that have been locked up in jail ever since they was 18 years old. 18 years old until they're 30 something. Now you got to think about that, from a perspective. They've been in jail since they was 18 to 25 years old. It's a likely chance that they had been with a couple men in between there and there. Not saying it's all have. I'm just saying it is likely because that's a lot of span of time to be locked up. You got to think, And my thing is when my brothers come back home from jail, I don't care what they did to live in jail or to get by while they in jail. Just don't bring it to me. If you had to live their lifestyle in jail, don't bring that to me. You know what I'm saying? I want you to come back as the brother that I know. We give each other five and we duking up, and
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't want to be duking up with you and then you start looking at me and licking your lips. No, no, no. I don't want that. I don't want that. You know what I'm saying? I don't want that, Don't want that. That's
Oh
all
man. Okay.
and
So
I believe that I also feel that
go ahead.
they have more rights than anybody.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. They do.
You know,
They've taken over the civil rights movement, and people get upset when I say that, but they did. They've literally taken over the civil rights movement. Like it's not even about like the 13th, 14th, and 15th was to correct the oppression done towards blacks, and I get the women part a little bit because women were treated just as bad as blacks after blacks, but of course we got it the worst. But they literally like just usurped the whole civil rights movement, and people get upset when I say it, but I'm like, you can literally go check for yourself and see. Go check the Constitution and who was initially the because it's something another thing that we forget to connect to the Constitution and Civil Rights Movement is what we call affirmative action. First of all, you have to know what the definition of affirmative action. It was previously called corrective action. For you to have a corrective action, obviously some major government had to have some transgression against you that was so, the magnitude was just out of hand that they had to, like, we had this mentality. Everybody was enslaved. Let's take slavery for example. I hate to use it because it's so overused, but it's the best example I can think of right now. Everybody was enslaved. We know that all skin colors, all people, but blacks had the worst enslavement of everybody. Because you got to think about it. The U.S. government have paid back pretty much everybody they were involved in enslaving in some form. And even the people that they were playing, like, I think it's the administration in the government that played back the Jews that dealt with the Holocaust. That didn't even happen in this country. So they would even reach out and extend an olive branch, which is good for diplomatic stuff. I'm fine with you doing that. But why you keep skipping over what happened to black people? You can attribute all the black on black crime and all the violence and the crumbling home to slavery. We're the only group of people that were enslaved that afterwards, that weren't getting everything. We weren't given a leg to stand up on. It was like, oh, y'all free. Y'all just go find a way out of nothing. You know what I mean? Like, that's crazy to think about for starters. And the second thing is we were the only group of people. Like I said, everybody was hung, everybody was mistreated. I call them indentured servants, though. We were slaves in the purest form of slave, but we're the only people that didn't have a resting period. Like, we went from slavery to Reconstruction to redlining of homes. We couldn't even get fair value of homes. We had to live in these what we call projects. What is a project? Something that's created. That's literally what a project is. So it was never a resting period, and we wonder why the ramping of the crime in the black inner city is so bad. You got a bunch of bruised ego men who've been stripped of their natural right, which is to do what? Provide and protect your family against other people. And the shit hit the fan. I can't find no other way to say it, but the shit hit the fan. And what are we supposed to do now? And something that infuriates me when I read a news article or see a news, because I don't watch the news because it's brainwashing nonsense. I'll watch it for the weather or something like that. But when I watch the news, my spirit is so disconnected from the news. When I watch it, I feel myself getting sick from the lies. I feel like it comes over my body where I feel like I'm starting to get headaches, my stomach, because I know what the programming is, But anyway, something that infuriates me, and which was the final nail in the coffin when we stop in watching the news, is how they treat black on black shootings. They'll be like, they'll make the story like, two crazy black dudes shot each other. Let's take me and you, Mr. Two Extra. Let's say we live in the same neighborhood. I bump you. Let's say you just lost your job, right? You coming in the store, I'm leaving the store. You bump me, or I bump you on the way out of the store. You turn around, hey, mother effer, why you just bump me? And we get into it, what the Boondocks call a nigga mode. You pull out your pistol and blow my brains out or whatever. They gonna make it seem like two crazy black dudes killed each other. They not gonna say that you lost your job. They didn't say the situation got out of hand. Yeah, we could have talked to each other better, but they always make it seem like we just crazy. They don't
shoot each other for no reason.
Right. They don't tell you that white on white crime is like 85%, Asian on Asian crime is like 80%. They not gonna tell you none of that. You know what I mean? I'm a believer that crime. I'm gonna bring y'all back in after this, but I'm a believer that crime is based off proximity. Who goes all the way over town to kill some, you know what I mean, to some neighborhood to kill somebody? You kill the people that you're around. Is it wrong? Of course it is. But death is based off proximity. I'm sorry, what were you trying to say, Mr. Two Extra?
I was going to say, have you ever thought of that maybe because of the mixed race of blacks, nobody is pure black. That because
Right.
we're not pure black, the DNA structure, the gene structure, the mind structure became totally different than what it's supposed to be. Therefore, we act different. There's light-skinned blacks against dark-skinned blacks. They're almost white blacks against dark-skinned blacks. We
Yep.
all shades of black, and we don't like each other
Mm-hmm.
because we're different shades. But we come in all shades. We're the only race that come in basically all shades that you can think of. But yet, we are all mixed with different DNA.
Yep.
We don't have the pure No offense, Eric. We don't have no pure DNA of black in us. I feel that if we was straight African, we would probably think different than we think now. If our blood
Sure.
was straight African and we
Sure.
spoke English, that we would think totally different than the way we think. But because
Sure.
because we're mixed breeds and we was Americanized, we think differently.
Sure. That's
Yeah.
gracefully. That's very perceptive. What do you think of the whole thing we just said, Eric, about the how people, specific minorities, are put in certain situations that makes them more susceptible? And what's your take on that?
I think it all. I think all these things that we've been talking about all come back to the same focal point, and that is the mentality of things are happening to us or things are happening for us.
Mhm.
So, for example, like I feel like if you were to take some of these stories that you're talking about, like um, just brain farted, but it kind of started with the gender thing with the LBQ and all that. And so what happens is it doesn't matter what faction you're identifying. If you're identifying as a victim, then you fall into the victim mentality.
Mhm.
And it's kind of this us versus them. I've got to get my rights back. And I feel like that's the way they continue to keep us divided. And it's just either the Native Americans are up front, then it was the Irish, then it was the blacks, now it's the LGBT, it's the this, it's always something extra. And if we can just come back to we're all human,
Mhm.
let's get down to like this example that you just talked about. If y'all come out of the same place, yeah, it's relevancy. But if you look at the bigger picture, it's that jobs are scarce in the first place. Our whole country is becoming a third world country right before our eyes in a lot of respects. And so there's all these added stresses. And so people are more uh, easily provoked or pushed to the edge, so to speak. And so
Sure.
they're going to act out of their true nature, which is to love or to care or to offer your services to someone else that might be in requirement of that. And
Sure.
so, when you start looking at like the LGBT and the transgender thing, um, I'm going to go here, I guess.
Sure. Go there.
It's kind of, I see it from both perspectives and many other perspectives, but just to kind of keep it two, for the different polarities. I mean, even when you look back to the indigenous and the Native Americans, they talk about the two spirit. So
Mhm.
children that are born that feel very connected to their feminine, even if they're a male, or women that are connected to the masculine, even if they're feminine. And they may have the looks. It may be more of the way they talk or the way they gesture and posture and all these things. But what it really comes down to is it comes back to the spiritual. And so the pyramid is the most structurally foundational object that we can have in the physical, spiritual, and emotional. So if you break it down, you have the sacred feminine on one side as the foundation, the divine masculine on the other side, and then you have spirit, which is the higher perspective that holds it together as the Trinity. And so I feel like a lot of the people that are being born nowadays, they're conflicted from the inside. And now that we have modern technology that says, well, I can be born with a vagina and now I can have a penis and I can go have sex this way. Well, then that's my right and I get to do that and you can't take that away from me. And so therefore I've got to fight for my right when you may not ever really be understanding what is the uncomfortableness that's within inside you, and you identify with this other perspective but you don't know why. And so you feel, or your ego is led to, well, I'm attracted to this, so I need to be that. When it may be more of a balancing and harmonizing of yourself. Now, I'm not saying that there are not people that you know, I'm not saying gay is a bad thing or that you can't do that, participate that. I got people in my family. I've actually been told people that I know that I gave names to, which I'm not going to bring up, but yeah, my children, before they were born, that they would be bi. And so when I gave them a name, I gave them one name that was masculine and one name as a middle name that was feminine. And that way that person could take their choices and walk their walk and talk their talk and make their own self discoveries. But for us to be judgmental of these people or for us to find ourselves in conflict, we're allowing the controllers, the masters, to keep us divided and we're not uniting together, you know.
Sure.
So I feel like it's bigger than any one narrative. It's all the narratives need to come together to realize that we're in this together, and we need to accept where people have been, where they are now, and where do we want to go? Do we want to be in a new world order that's under control, or do we want to all live in a world where we all operate and love one each other and operate in kind of a new world order, but not under control. It's under our own cooperation.
I mean,
Yeah.
you got to look at it
Go
from
ahead.
this point of view. Back when my father was around, women thought that to keep the men, they would have a baby. You know, they have a baby, the man would stay at the house. All right, and in my generation, they thought that if they had oral sex, that that would keep the man around.
Mm.
Then all the females started doing oral sex. Then it was nothing to keep the men around. So now in the area that we live in now, what do? They said that you can have me and your side chick at the same time. You know, that's what they're saying you can do now. That's the way the world is evolving now, and this is how things are coming about now. You know, you can have both. You know what I'm saying? And it's crazy.
Which
It's
Yeah.
sounds
crazy.
great. It sounds
Which, if you go back to the spiritual aspect, we're playing with the masculine and the feminine. We're not really experiencing the spiritual. I've had spiritual sex before for three
great.
minutes. For 3 minutes. And
Now I haven't had spiritual sex.
I'm gonna
I'm
tell you, it's like it'll take any kind of physical experience I've ever had and just trump it by like 100,000 times. Like
Wow.
to feel your energy, all your
mm,
molecules, to feel yourself as a galaxy, a universe, connecting and combining with another galaxy, another frequency, and to feel the vibration of those two combining together, and then feel it in all your organs and all that. I was like, what did you do, my whole life? So I feel like we've lost our way in our own individualities, so therefore we're easily divided because we don't have a true foundation. And kind of like what y'all were saying earlier, like the races, have been so muddled that we don't have, we're always being manipulated. We're always being even in like what we were talking about earlier with like our health, the foods that we put into our body, they're changing our DNA. The chemicals that we expose ourselves, they're changing our DNA. So when we really respect our temples and we operate with that fundamentals as our forefront, then holy cow, the whole game changes, and it's not even more of a game as much as it is an inclusive, like, you're a piece of my puzzle, and I want to see you succeed so that we can have a bigger accumulation of prosperity.
Absolutely.
I agree. I agree with you. Well, fellas, I hate to leave, but I have to work tonight and I have to get some sleep. You know,
Oh man, Mr. Two Extra, man. You were gave us more than enough with the time that you gave us. Yeah, I appreciate having you. Mr. Two Extra, y'all. Is there anything you want to push or
no,
did you
no. I'm off tomorrow, so if you do anything like this tomorrow, I'll be able to stay on the whole time. You know.
I got some good news for you. We do have a part two to this tomorrow.
Okay, okay. Well, that's
Yeah.
fine. Just
Yeah.
let me know what time, when I'll be in there. But I do
Say
like to say what
5:30 Central Time.
I do like to say what I always say, and Takara, she knows what I'm gonna say. It's okay to be extra. I see y'all.
Love you too, extra.
House, y'all. Yes, indeed. We still got Eric in the house with us though, or whatever. I don't know how much more Eric time we got here. I'm not gonna burn him out too much, but we probably could be done by the next hour, like the next 9 o'clock hour, I guess. Eric, do you have anywhere to be soon?
No, let me go to the restroom real quick though.
Sure.
I'll be right back.
Now I can take some time to catch up and talk to some people in the comment while Eric's going to get up and go to the restroom. And I'm responding to this text. Does any females want to call in? John, do you want to call in? Not calling you a female, but I'm just saying there hasn't been any females on. John, you're welcome to call in. If anyone else would like to call in that's of the female gender or identify as a female or whatever you identify as, if you're born female, please feel free to call in and give a female or a feminine perspective. Well, yeah. If not, I have this video I could play for me to rest my voice because I thought it was interesting based off, it's called A Breakdown of American Family. Maybe I think a woman might have made this because say the profile thing is the queen or whatever. So let's watch this a bit, and when Eric come back, we'll add more dialogue.
Very beginning was for a biological mother and father to both be in the home, raising their children together. Not just the mother, not just the father, but a mother and a father who are married to one another. How ideal is the traditional family unit? According to a diverse team of scholars from the universities of Texas, Virginia, Minnesota, Chicago, Maryland, Washington, Rutgers, and UC Berkeley, not conservative or religious universities by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, most of them are quite opposite. But they found that children from those homes
live longer, healthier lives, mentally and physically,
do better in school,
are more likely to graduate and attend college,
are less likely to live in poverty,
are less likely to be in trouble with the law,
less likely to drink or do drugs,
less likely to be violent or sexually active,
less likely to be victims of sexual or physical violence,
and are more likely to have successful marriages when they're older.
Such research has been confirmed by other highly respected liberals, like Harvard's David Ellwood and Christopher Jenks, who also found broken families result in a reduction of human capital. Quote, the knowledge, education, habits, willpower, and all the internal stuff that is largely intangible a person has that helps produce an income, end quote. The American Enterprise Institute's Nick Schultz argues in his book, Home Economics, The Consequences of Changing Family Structure, that among children who start off in the bottom third of income distribution, only 26% with divorced parents ever move up, compared with 42% born to unmarried mothers who may marry later and 50% who grow up with two married parents. So is it any wonder then that so many blacks never break the cycle of poverty? In 1986, CBS News did a special report on what was happening in the black family in America called The Vanishing Family, Crisis in Black America.
25 years ago, you would not have heard such things said so freely because they were not embraced so widely. The strong family was still the backbone of black America, and 3 out of 4 children had both parents at home. That is true no longer.
I don't know why you are so skippy, but
The result is a world turned upside down as children copy what they see and repeat what they learn. LaDawn said she didn't have a father in her home and doesn't think her children need one. She's not unusual. Half the black families today are headed only by a woman. Clorinda said she could make it on her own as a single parent. She has never been married and is raising her daughter without a man's help. She's not unusual. Today, nearly 60% of all black children are born out of wedlock. Timothy said his children are not his responsibility. He has left them to be supported by their mothers and welfare. He's not unusual either. For LaDawn and Clorinda and Timothy, and many more like them in cities all over America, The traditional family no longer exists. It has vanished, and something new is taking its place. Single women and the children they're rearing alone are the fastest growing part of the Black population.
During the 30 years since that report, the situation has grown much, much worse. Today, 73% of Black families are not traditional family units. 73%. Yet in 1950, it was the other way around. 75% of Black families were two-parent homes. The result for so many has been poverty and crime. But rather than focus on such a clear and profound problem, groups like Black Lives Matter and so many other Black organizations and so-called Black leaders choose to place the blame on police, white America, or capitalism. While the Black family has been the hardest hit, by no means is it the only segment to suffer. The American family of every race, every ethnicity, continues to disintegrate as virtually no one steps up to address the problem and propose solutions. As a result, the situation continues to worsen.
Since 1980, the marriage rate is down 45%.
41% of children are born to unmarried mothers, and again, it's 73% among African Americans.
71% of poor families are not married.
Marriage decreases the probability a child will live in poverty by 82%.
Fatherless or single-parent homes produce children who are 2 times more likely to be arrested for juvenile crime.
Twice as likely to be treated for emotional and behavioral problems. Twice as likely to be suspended or expelled from school.
They are also 33% more likely to drop out of school and 3 times more likely to end up in jail by age 30.
70% of inmates grew up in broken homes.
And compared to children from homes disrupted by death, children from divorced homes have more psychological problems.
Yet even with the evidence of the shattered children from crumbling families, we're told everything is perfectly fine. A family unit can be anything. A single mom, a single dad, 2 moms, 2 dads, a monkey, a gerbil, maybe a wandering minstrel or 2 from Saskatchewan. It just doesn't seem to matter anymore. The kids will be fine no matter what. As Dr. Wendy Walsh points out.
There's this crazy idea out there that a traditional family is one with one heterosexual man living with one heterosexual woman in a house with offspring who have a biological connection to both of those. Sorry, that's a modern family, and it's actually a prescription for insanity as far as our biology is concerned.
If someone had said the same thing about a same-sex family, there would be a very good chance that they'd be unemployed, and perhaps unemployed for good. A hetero man married to a hetero woman. What a perfectly crazy idea. And a prescription for insanity? They may even face a hate speech charge. But for whatever the reason, it's perfectly acceptable to say this about a traditional family unit. Why? When there's nearly total consensus on the fact that a traditional family unit is provably what is best for the well-being of the children. Now, this isn't to say that single moms can't be fantastic, loving parents, or single dads, or they're just not capable of raising wonderful, well-adjusted, highly successful kids. Because they can and they do. Grandparents can and do wonderful child rearing. Same-sex couples certainly love their children. And sometimes the ideal family unit, for whatever reason, just is not possible. But in general, where possible, traditional family units produce the best results, consistently, over decades of studies. Period. Could it be that biologically, a woman brings certain traits and skills to child rearing that a man doesn't, and vice versa? And is it just possible that that combination leads to the most well-adjusted, highest functioning human beings? That question, however, is apparently so offensive now that most dare not even ask. On the rare occasion when small groups of Americans actually do become active and go outside of their community to support traditional families, they are often attacked, as occurred here on a street corner in Pennsylvania when an opponent of traditional marriage saw their signs supporting traditional families.
You should not make people feel like they're wrong for what they believe in. It's sickening.
statement that they shouldn't make people feel bad for what they believe obviously doesn't apply to her. Despite having a consensus and science on the side of traditional families being the best bet for child rearing, it has gotten to the point where it is seriously hazardous for someone to even mention the facts or suggest that some of the problems in America that we're facing are due to the disintegration of the traditional family unit. Next time, we look at some of the factors that have contributed to the destruction of the family in America and how we got here.
Interesting. Great, very informative, great video, brought up some really good points. That last part was, see, I've never been exposed to that part of the, because I try to be an open-minded person for things that I don't clearly know everything about and don't understand. So I ask questions and host events like this, and this is great feedback, so we will be going forward with this topic. I was a little afraid when we started with 20 people that this might not get any traction, and I'm sure the great Eric and Brother 2 Extra helps to that. Our very active comment section and communities, all walks of life, which is what I wanted this to be. I didn't want it to just be an overly masculine representation, or overly feminine, or overly LGBT. I wanted all people to feel welcome and discuss, even racially. I wanted racial. I'm glad me and Eric are from 2 different racial groups, so we can discuss a lot of the misconceptions that we have about the opposite gender and things like that, or opposite race of people. With that said, Eric, I wanted to ask you, because I remember you said you were raised around a lot of, and correct me if I'm wrong, Native American, I believe Cherokee spirit. Were you raised in your home with both mom and dad, or grandparents, or of each one opposite sex? How were you raised growing up? More traditional or new age, or how was that?
Yeah, that's a good question. I feel like it's indicative of what's on the whole. Like, I think it also comes back to response versus reaction. Like even like the example you used of you and Mr. 2X were walking and bumping, and instead of inquiring about, hey man, why are you pushing off on me like that, coming to an understanding, instead of reacting and going into that mode, like you said. I feel like even when you look at like this video where it talks about the women and wanting to not have a man and being okay with that, I feel like what the major syndrome here is energy. We're all energy, as Tesla said,
Absolutely.
vibration, energy. Think about the universe. And like I was noticing when you were asking me questions in the beginning, I was just, every time you would talk, I could just feel your energy. And you were very very stable and steady. It wasn't like you were getting emotional with the way you were asking, but they were very detailed, intricate, emotional topics. And then to find out that you're a Cancer, and so you're very much into that deep and sensitive nature. I think, one thing that we're not looking at, and looking at the whole victim mentality, if a woman is saying, I don't need a man, why are you saying you don't need a man?
Right.
Let's go back and look at the track record. Do you keep attracting the same kind of men? Oh, okay, we know that there are men that are grown up that have not got the moral values that are going to be able to be sufficient for a productive relationship. But what have you done, instead of saying, why do I keep getting these players? Or why do I keep getting these abusive men? Or why do I keep getting these jerks? Have you addressed yourself? Have you addressed what your makeup is, what your energy is putting out and attracting? Because that's what I've really found out it comes back to. And back more on topic of your direct question is, and you were talking about astrology earlier. I've always gotten into astrology. Where I've played it and how I've played it as incremental has been back and forth until the last 7 years. And then when I started allowing spirit to guide me more, I started getting information from spirit, and then I would find the correlation with the astrology. And I got to this one part. One of my soul sisters kept sending me some videos, and she would always send me videos where the people were talking about stuff that Spirit was talking to me about. And they started talking about this whole Black Lilith thing, and the Black Lilith moon, the Black Lilith this and that, and astrology. I was like, oh, what is this? And so I started looking into it for myself. And when I found out where my Black Liliths were, it was very interesting. It came back to the fourth house, which is in Capricorn, which should be Cancer. So, or not should be, but that's its natural state. And when I read the description, it said, you, based upon your energy and your makeup and what you came into this life, the reason you were born under this sign and all these energies line up this way is you were born, your mother and father probably split up at a very young age. You lived with the one that could not emotionally support you. And I'm a Pisces, so I'm very sensitive. I need the emotional support. And all of that was direct on. And then it went further to say, you will take that on as a mantle, that you will go forward in your life and you will make sure this doesn't replicate in your life. But you'll go on to marry someone that cannot emotionally meet you halfway. And you'll end up in a failure in marriage and all this. And I'm like, oh my God, this thing just read me like an open book. So yeah, my mother and father actually split up before I knew. I knew via my best friend at the time. I was over at his house and he was like, well, your mom and dad are split up. I was like, no, my dad's in the Navy. He's just away a lot. And I was like 5 or 6 years old at this time. And he was like, no, ask your mom. And so directly when I got in the car and was riding home, I asked her and she said, yeah, Eric, I didn't really want to tell you this because we thought maybe we could work it out and things like that. But when it all came back to the reality of everything, this is the way my life was supposed to happen because based on previous lives, my energy before I came into this lifetime, I needed these obstacles, these challenges to help me grow. But if I continue to be in the victim mentality and say, this woman wasn't here for me emotionally and blah, 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 then I'm not looking on and taking on the responsibility of myself or dialing into what it is that made me require these experiences in the first place.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And what a very refined answer. And I really appreciate the feedback. And man, he's just providing me with so much wisdom. Eric's going to have to be on here with me a little more often on Tuesdays and Wednesdays going forward, so we can keep this topic going. Now, let me ask you this. Let me ask a little bit about you now, Eric, as far as what made you join HAPS and what things do you like to discuss on here, or is it just more of a pastime thing for you? Like, what's going on with you here on HAPS?
I pretty much have the same answer for everything anymore. Seems to be I'm just doing my best to follow Spirit. And about 2015 or 16, I started experiencing people on Facebook, especially artists, that I had seen them do paintings in my dreams. And seeing things happen in my dreams, and now I'm seeing it happen through their live feed on Twitch or Facebook or something like that. And I guess it was the end of last year sometime, one of these soul brothers of mine was like, hey, Eric, there's this, one of his people on Twitch was like, hey, Michael, have you heard of this HAPS thing? And he was like, yeah, I'm actually on it, but, I prefer Twitch. But, hey, Eric, you should try HAPS because it's kind of in beta mode and it's not really caught traction. And, if it becomes big, if you get in now, you could be on, like, the forefront of something big. And I was like, all right, well, I'll check it out, and I'm very like technologically not savvy. So I thought this would be a perfect way to kind of dip my toe in the pond, so to speak.
Sure.
But when I came here, I started experiencing more and more and more and more and more and more and more things of my dreams, people that I'd seen in my dreams. And so I felt like it was more of like my destiny path that I was on. And yeah, I pretty much just I do a Monday, Wednesday, Friday broadcast
Mhm.
and it's mostly spiritually orientated, either stuff like we're talking about tonight, or meditation,
Sure.
dreams, psychic, medium, all
Mhm.
those kind of things.
Sure. I love it. Yeah, I'll love to have you, and I'll work around your schedule as well. Maybe I can get you on here Wednesday after you're done. Oh, I can come over to your channel. That works too. If I'm
Oh
welcome to come
yeah,
over,
oh
I'll come to your
yeah,
channel.
you're more than welcome. You know, one thing I've found with spirit is not to say that there's anything called a stupid question, because if you don't know the answer, then you know it's fair game to ask a question. But as you start to ask more questions, you can start to delineate that there are, maybe not smarter is the best word, but more direct questions that get you better answers in shorter duration. And you ask a lot of really good questions. I think that's a very important thing to do. Is we should question everything, if
Mhm.
especially if we don't understand it. So yeah, you're always welcome on my channel.
Absolutely, and I'm glad we ran into each other thanks to the great Des. And just to Eric, she's laughing at herself in a comment about how you got her again, about how she was talking about how she don't need a man, but she realized that wasn't true, and she's transitioning now through the healing process of trying to come with the realization of that. So Des is giving you some
Uh,
love here in the comment section.
Thank you, Desiree. I love you, girl. I shouldn't say girl.
One
Beautiful
lady.
goddess.
Yeah, she's definitely. I love Des, man. She's raised my spirit so much on here. Yeah, she's and we ironically from the same state. She's 2 hours away from me, but we're from the same state.
Yeah, yeah, that is cool. You're a little bit more north, I guess.
Yeah, and like I don't meet a whole lot of people from Peoria, which I think is straight because it's one of the largest. I think it's the second or third largest outside of Chicago. But I just don't meet a whole lot of people from Peoria. You know what I mean? But Des comes over here and I love how she comes in with much love. She says that with everything, and it's always 3 white hearts. I don't know if there's any significance to the 3 white hearts, but she always enters everything. And I feel weird when she's not on here because she's such a high spirited person or whatever. So yeah, Dad's getting shown a lot of love here today. Trying to think, is there anything I want to really ask Eric, because I don't want to take up too much of his time. Let's see what else I want to ask you. As far as, are you an artist? Because I know Des is an artist. Do you do any painting or drawing or any form of art, performance art? I'm more of a performing artist, but do you have any art?
Yeah, I'm kind of a jack of all trades, but art has always been something that's been near and dear through my life. Though I've like I said, I got on disability back in 2008, so there's been a long time that I haven't been able to do art like I've done in the past. So in the last few years, I've done a little bit of painting. I'm currently working on setting up this room behind me to be like a podcast / art room, so that I can actually have good lighting to do artwork and stuff. But yeah, I was a tattoo artist when a roof truss fell on my head and
Right.
damaged my spine, and that took me out of that industry and sent me down this path. But yeah, art's very healing. It's very spiritually connected. It's a form of meditation, as are the performing arts as well.
Mhm. Nice. That's great. I love it. And I was going to ask you, do you partake, or have you in the past, in any kind of yoga or any other type of, uh, Eastern, somewhat meditation? It's more of a stretching meditation. Do you partake in any of that?
Yeah, I do a lot of stretching. I don't particularly do yoga per se. I do Kundalini yoga practice. It's not regular. I need to get some more healing in my lower chakras before I can really, really go there. But I do qigong. That's my main foundation. Probably is qigong. So
What
yeah,
is that
that's.
exactly, Eric? What is Qigong exactly?
I don't know if you've ever heard of Tai Chi, but
Yeah, I'm
it's
familiar with Tai Chi.
it's it's like the grandfather of Tai Chi. So Tai Chi's very movement orientated. You have a lot of structure and movement and all this stuff. And qigong, anybody can do. You could be a quadriplegic or very disabled, and you could still do qigong from a sitting stance or laying in a bed. But it's um, actually what a lot of the Chinese medicine is derived from qigong. So working with the meridians and the energy centers and the chi or pranas, they call it in yoga. Um, but yeah, that's probably my go-to.
Nice. Now, I've always had this thing where I wouldn't want to get in a fight with a spiritual person because, like, they've always have the stereotype of appearing outwardly weak or they don't look very strong. But like, what they're very in tune with their balance and their energy, so they're not people that you want to trifle around with. I've always had that. So, with that said, do you have any type of martial arts that you practice or that you've mastered or any else? Because I'm into martial arts as well. So,
Okay, yeah. I have not been practicing martial arts in a long time. My tattoo career, actually, the people that I was working with discouraged me because my hands were now my money. And so they said, you need to cut out the martial arts, which I reflect on that as probably a negative. But I did some different things. I did like Golden Gloves when I was younger. I did some judo, but then I felt very restricted in all of those. And I finally made the decision that I wasn't going to take any martial art unless it was Jeet Kune Do, which was Bruce Lee's uh, method. And then I came across a gentleman that knew Jeet Kune Do, and I had him start teaching me. And the class that I was in, they ended up calling me Tennessee Bruce Lee because I was just kind of amazing everyone as I would be doing moves before I was taught them. And now looking back on it, I feel like it was more of my intuitive spiritual nature that was actually guiding me. Like you'd throw a kick when we were only supposed to be throwing punches, and I'd throw a oblique kick to block it. And my instructor's like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa! What did you just do there? What? I haven't even taught you that. What?" And you just instinctively did that, and so everyone was kind of like drawn to me. But even in my more feeble states, yeah, some people have kind of stepped to me, and I guess they don't take you as being a threat. And like you said, balance. As long as you can get them off balance, it's. But now I look more towards not avoiding, but being able to get to the root of whatever has got us in contention, and hopefully being able to resolve that with a sense of understanding. As a young kid, I was always the smallest one, so I was always picked on. I was always bullied, and 7 out of 10 times I talked my way out of any confrontation. But when I did, I had a tendency to just lose my shit.
hey, it happens, man. When you only can step on somebody so much before they respond with a warrant and usually well deserved, equal and opposite reaction. I'm also the same way. I've studied different forms. I'm mostly a grappler, so judo, wrestling. I have some basic boxing. I know how to defend myself against street guys. I wouldn't get in the ring and try to go no rounds with Floyd Mayweather or anybody, but I can defend myself, so to speak. But to me, hitting the boxing bag is more meditation and more controlling self and balance. Because a lot of people like what Bruce Lee used to call the punch. Was it the 6-inch punch, Eric? What did he call it?
The 1-inch punch, yeah.
The 1-inch punch. And that's what my goal is, to kind of be able to do that. Because a lot of people think punch, a lot of it comes from hip and torque. It does technically from a scientific standpoint, but you can hit anybody if you generate enough power. You can hit somebody of any size if you generate enough power, as Bruce Lee did with the 1-inch punch. And that's something that hitting a boxing bag is very therapeutic. And also a lot of people don't understand how cardio intensive hitting a boxing bag is. If you want to get a real sweat and you don't want to, because running on outside, specifically on concrete, is not even good for your joints all the time. So I would
Yeah.
maybe once a week is fine or something. But people that do that 2 or 3 days a week, I think they're insane. But running on a treadmill is kind of boring to me, and it's not as challenging. You know what I mean? Yeah, even though you can do the incline, decline, all that stuff. But to me, running in nature is almost a lot more beneficial, specifically grass or sand. Sand itself is challenging. So I like doing that. But man, if you want just like you want to let off some steam and get in some cardio, boxing best. So Daz, you hear me? That Scorpio moon needs that balance. You make sure you hit that punching bag. I know about your Scorpio moons. You got to let it out from time to time.
Get that fire going.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's a lot that comes with having a Scorpio moon. But just the negative parts of them can be kind of debilitating at times, because I have a lot of friends with that placement. But that punching bag is about what you can. You let it all out. You can. That's what you can hit and not go to jail for hitting. You know what I mean? Hit the punching bag. You know what I mean? So and it has ways of hitting you back if you don't hit it right. You'll feel that. But I just love it. Like I believe in, for anyone to do anything, you have to learn a martial arts. It's called a martial art for a reason. Just like we use martial law. What is martial law? Martial law is bringing back the balance when things get too out of control. That's what martial law is. Martial arts is mastering oneself. A lot of people think, I can whoop everybody. That's my martial arts. You know what I mean? So, yeah, but can you control yourself? Like you said, you talk yourself out of situations, Eric, 7 out of 10 times. So you use your non-physical martial arts, which is your verbal skills. So
if you can see or feel what the point is, and you can speak that in a way that they don't react in a physical manner, then the old G.I. Joe saying, knowing is half the battle. So if you know how to bridge the gap, then you don't have to deal with the flack. But yeah, I definitely agree with the whole running. Like for me, still on my healing process, concrete is my biggest challenge, to be able to operate on concrete without my body talking to me about it for weeks afterwards. And so, like you're saying, nature, I do walks in nature. In this last 6 or 7 months, I've actually started running up the incline, because one, the steps are shorter, so the impact is less on my joints, and I'm doing it on the forest floor, so there's a lot of leaves and other debris that's also lessening the impact, but I'm still getting the cardio. And I was going to ask you a question too.
Sure.
As far as like generating power, I know when I was like doing the Jeet Kune Do, we would do like the burning foot sidekick. And I was, again, the smallest one in the class, but even the big guys, we would do the burning foot sidekick, and the martial arts, there's a lot of ego, whether they're in it for the right reason or not. But everybody's like, who can knock the guy holding the pad back the furthest? And I was always the one that knocked him back the furthest.
Wow.
And everybody was like, how are you doing that, Eric? And, for me, when I'm training, I kind of go 3/4. And then when it's actually in the moment, that's when I'm able to get
100%.
like when I was hitting pads, I felt weak a lot of times. But when I was like sparring, or when I was in these combat situations, I felt the molecules in my body come alive. I felt like this energy like rise up from the ground. All my hairs would stand up sometimes. Do you feel that or experience that, and do you atone that to a part of your power, so to speak?
Yes, I usually feel that in very usually mentally stimulating, as we're having right now. Like you said the hair was raising up on your arms and all that. You know what I mean? And I'm a storyteller by nature, even though I'm very educated. But I'm a pro wrestler in training, which is all storytelling. You know what I mean? It is spiritual wrestling story. Yes, it's physical, but the physical is a result of once you built up from the verbal, then you get to the physical stuff. But yes, and I think I was born to be a performer, because as you, like, I perform well under pressure, which it sounds like you do as well. But to answer your initial question, yes, the hair raises up on me, and I feel giddy, and you feel like that morphine that your body naturally releases.
Yeah.
You feel it when you're in that moment. And also that's probably why I love broadcasting so much as well, because I get on here and I really feel it. But and also my version of what I call religion is astrology. I'm very in tune with the stars, and it's a process I've gone through, as have you. Like I've never had any physical disabled, like you said, that the thing fell on. I've never had nothing like that, but I've had a lot of adversity, home issues and going through poverty and bouncing back from homelessness and things like that. I had those type of barricades set in front of me. So it just made me strong, and just having that quietness alone with being able to honestly think. At first, it's very uncomfortable because we're so in a society where we're attuned to always having some type of stimulation, the television being on, having friends or family over. And something I also learned from studying psychology is usually people that hate being alone usually have some of the worst mental health problems, because when you sit alone, you're able to think about all those things that you've been putting behind, those repressed and suppressed memories. And it's a very uncomfortable feeling at first. It's like getting off crack. When you've been doing crack forever, when you come off of it, you know what I mean? It's withdrawals. You're going through withdrawals. Emotions work exactly the same way. Whereas, you have to get all that out of your system first. But yeah, all of that and adversity and me mastering self, in the process of still mastering self, because I'm only 30 years old. I'll be 30 soon. All that with mastering self and all that just gets me excited when I'm helping other people, because I think I was put here ultimately to heal and help others, help out with, just stories I've learned over life. And, if I can educate somebody to not make a decision that I've made, that's what my calling is. And something I was going to ask you was, I'm really into astrology, and that's how I was able to guess because I feel it. It was here. I felt it, through osmosis that I could feel it, just like you feel certain events. I have premonitions, probably not at the length of you, because Pisces are a whole nother level of water signs. Cancers, I feel like we're in the middle. Scorpios, unfortunately, use it to be deceptive sometimes, but they have very strong, profound intuition as well. But they can use it for good if you want. But unfortunately, a lot of them have what's the word I'm looking at? An inclination to be negative with theirs. Not all the time, but they're just more inclined to use it for negative, vengeful purposes. But it's interesting that you said it, because I was going to ask you, did you know your full birth chart? But before I do that, I also have Pisces in my chart. My rising is in Pisces. So my ascendant sign is in Pisces. So I have Pisces. My moon's in Aquarius, my sun's in Cancer, and my ascendant is in Pisces. But my Mars and my Venus is in Leo. So that makes me I have a lot of passionate planets in there. So you can feel when I'm really talking about something, no matter what the topic I am on my pod, I think people feel how passionate I am for people and the love that I have for people. On the flip side, the love that I have the lack of love, I should say, that I have for injustice. So I can flip it either way. If I see that you're being very negative in the space that I'm in, I can be very adversarial, because I just don't like, unnecessary drama or mess. And I feel maybe some of that is the same with you as well. But I can be very adversarial to authority if I feel like they're being, just what they're doing is not in the best interest of me, firstly, and other people around me that I care about. I can also be very adversarial. Sometimes you might get on one of my random podcasts, because we cover MMA and pro wrestling on here too, where you hear me and I'm just upset at WWE for how they treat their workers, for labor issues or something. Like, I'm not a very ideal employee. That's essentially what I'm telling you right now.
That's a good thing.
Well, yeah, and I get a sense of that from you or whatever. And you have such an ambiguous looking age. Are you over the age of 30? Because I can't even tell.
Yeah, I'm 47.
I would have never thought you were 47, and that's probably because you're so spirited and grounded. But do you know your full birth chart? Is that something you don't really get into, or obviously you know your Pisces, which is your sun sign?
Yeah, I don't know it religiously. I couldn't tell you every aspect of it. It kind of comes in and out. Some places I can tell you more and less, but I kind of go with what I'm dealing with, or what's affected me the most, or what I've had to transgress the most. But
Sure.
yeah, I'm a Pisces is my sun sign. My rising is Libra, so I'm all about balance.
Yep.
And then I think my moon is in my third house, which is communication. So
Gemini.
I'm very much into communicating, and I've found out that my story had to be such so that I can help communicate this fundamental to people, because we all kind of fear the responsibility that comes with our spiritual nature, because we haven't ever really experienced it, and our culture doesn't speak to us or doesn't immerse us in it in a way that we have a grounding to it. But also, what was it? Pisces, Libra, moon's in the third house. And another thing that goes with that is my Saturn is in my ninth house, which your ninth house has to do with your spirituality. And as you probably know, Saturn is a very slow, methodical, got to beat it out over time, kind of in the physical. And so that's very much what I've had to do with my spirituality. And it says, if you find Saturn in your ninth house, you'll have probably struggled with your spirituality throughout most of your life. And then when you come into it, it really starts to explode and bring you into who you really are. And then the other thing is, I do know that I'm perfectly balanced as far as I got 5 planets in the feminine side and 5 planets in the masculine side. So I'm very balanced in that sense of not being over feminine or over masculine.
That's a great chart to have. Let me double check mine. Let me pull it up because I know what they are, but I don't know what the numbers that you just said. I know I have quite a bit of both. I don't know what the exact metrics, but I think it's pretty close to balance. If I'm not mistaken, my Saturn is in the 11th house, which is Aquarius. I have quite a bit of Aquarius in my chart. My moon's in Aquarius, my Saturn's in Aquarius, and the 9th house is Sagittarius. So your Saturn is in Sagittarius. That's a very profound, long-term, like professor type. Like they're so non-satiated when it comes to education. Like it's never enough that you can learn, so to speak. Dad's son is Sag. She's a sun Sag.
Yeah, and that's very fiery too.
Yeah, they are. I like Sag people though. I like Sag. They're very, at times they can be opinionated and fiery, but they're very innocent people at the end of this. So when you get to know them, it's not malicious the way their behavior or whatever.
Yeah,
just like Scorpios, when you really get to know them or whatever, they struggle with emotional expression, which comes off to someone that's not very used to them is abrasive. You know, it comes off as very hostile and combative if you don't know them well. But when you peel back the layers,
but they're not.
Absolutely. Like they come off as, because a lot of people are like, oh man, I would have never thought you're a Cancer. That's because I have a lot of very rational planets in my birth chart, which balances out my emotions. Like I'm so glad that my Mars is in Leo, because Cancers aren't overly assertive about what they want or don't want out of things, which can be a mental block and a career block for them. And thank God I have a fire sign in my Mars that pushes that out, which makes me more assertive and passionate. I'm a very balanced and fair person, but as I say, it can go the other way if I feel like it's not A, being reciprocated, or B, you're encroaching and impeding on my life. Then it can flip and be adversarial, which that only tends to come out with authority, quote unquote authority or whatever. Because I feel like a lot of people want you to give them this royal treatment, but they don't want to work to get that, so to speak. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they want the accolades, but they haven't done the work to actually attain them. Yeah, or warn them. Yeah.
And that's so a lot of that comes with authority, which is hard for me to keep a full-time job because I hate to say this, but I know bull crap when I see it. You know what I mean? Like I just know when it's not. I'm sorry, I'm not that person that you could just hit over the head with nonsense. You know what I mean? And then corporate structures are very stifling to success. I don't really like how it makes you too one-track minded. You know what I mean? This is the way. Yeah. And then the final result, as I said, one of the stories I started to show off with was, it makes people depressed. Like you see some of the most depressed people you ever see that work They work 9 to 5 jobs. You know what I mean? I'm a believer that humans are not supposed to wake up before the sun is fully out. That's just, I believe that. Like, everybody looks sluggish, lethargic, moody in the morning. But that's because you're not fully energized yet, which is why we have to put these stimulants in our body. You know what I mean? Some good, some bad. Let's say you put coffee in your body.
Coffee, yeah.
Some coffee, you know what I mean? A lot of times we got to do that because the sun's not out. Our energy, our primary battery and our energy source, the sun, isn't fully out. And God forbid if you work the night shift, you never get sun. You're talking about an unbalanced person.
Oh man, yeah. I did Walmart third shift for a while, and I found out there, working there, like you're talking about the management and stuff. You'll find that people are in positions of power are a lot of times put there because they follow orders or they do what they're told. And when I was explained how the pay raises went at Walmart, it was 1 through 5, 5 being the highest pay raise, and all the criteria for all those. I was like, that's my goal. I'm gonna get 5. And everybody's like, oh my God, you are the best stocker we've ever seen in paper goods and chemicals and blah, 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 blah. And I was like, yeah, well, I'm going to get that 5. And they're like, oh. And it took them a little while, but a couple people kept saying to me, Eric, I don't want to be the one to burst your bubble, but nobody gets 5. I was like, what do you mean nobody gets 5? I was like, everybody's telling me I'm like Superman over here and putting up stock. Nobody's put up stock like me. I'm putting mine up, and then I'm going to someone else's department and putting theirs up. They're like, yeah, but I'm like, well, that should get a 5. They're like, nobody gets a 5. I said, so you're telling me that's like an unattainable goal? Is that what you're saying? They're like, yeah, nobody ever gets it. I was like, well, then it shouldn't be there.
Right.
And so when I went in for my evaluation, I was talking to the main guy, the main honcho, and he was Mr. Hypes, yeah, you're a great worker, and this. We're gonna give you a 4. I was like, he was like, do you have anything to say? I was like, yeah, I'd like to know why I'm not getting the 5. I heard everything that you said, so why am I not getting the 5? And he explained to me in some ho-hum, half-ass way, and I was like, look, I've already had everybody tell me this, so I'm going to tell you something right now. Don't put a goal in front of me that is not attainable, because if you do that and you tell me and boast me up about this and that, and then tell me I can't attain that, you just lost me.
Right.
And once that happened, I said, I'm on my way out.
Yeah.
Where's the front door?
Yeah.
Which I made sure I had another job and stuff first. But I'm like, that's like you said, it just doesn't make sense. And I'm gonna call somebody out.
Absolutely. And they don't want, like you said, they put people in those positions that are willing to follow orders and be pulled in a lot of different directions. And I'm exactly like you. Don't put a goal in front of me that's not obtainable. And I'm going to see through that quickly. Like, I'll give you one of the big examples. So you worked in Walmart, which is service level. That's service level work. So we all worked in some form of service level jobs at one point or another. With that said, we all been in those situations where we probably had to, like, let's say your department's the men's department. I worked at Burlington Coat Factory, and I was a high level supervisor there. So let's say my department was men and men's shoes. That's what you told me when I took this job, and that's what I agreed as far as the pay and all that. Don't wait till I start, and then next thing you know, you calling me, hey, Mr. So-and-so, we need you to come do register. You didn't tell me nothing.
Yeah.
Not that I can't do it. It's just you didn't tell me. That's not what we agreed on. You didn't tell me anything about register or none of that. And if you're going to add another workload to it, I want more pay now. You know what I mean? If that's what you're going to, that pay needs to be commensurate to that. So they'll try to pull some crap like that. So, okay, whatever. It's not much I can do at this point. They're going to try to pull the wool over my eyes, and I'm not going to put myself in a position to get fired without another, source of income. So I'll do the thing. And we always been put in situations where we have to answer the phone and sell something for the company, or we're running this. Would you like to sign up for this? And the question I ask is, am I getting paid to do this? I'm literally selling something for you, but you don't want to give me the money for it. That's not fair, and I'm not going to tolerate that. You know what I mean? So it's just like, that's another thing about the corporate world that don't make sense to me, nor am I going to tolerate. And speaking back to my planets and how they're set up, I have a lot of very entrepreneurial planets in my birth chart that makes me very adept at being able to survive and find other ways to live outside of the corporate structure. You know, I'm very anti-authoritarian by nature. It's not that I can't work with people. I just see the way it's structured. It is not people benefited. So I'm not going to ever coexist in a system that's made like that.
Yeah. I totally agree with that. Like the first real job I felt like I had was right after high school. It was kind of like a Peace Corps, but it was in the U.S. It was a National Civilian Community Corps, utilizing the base closures. So we were based in Charleston, South Carolina, on the naval base, and we were basically at community service. We would go out and help different organizations, whether it be building houses, doing taxes, helping tutor kids in schools. And so it's all across the board, but it's service related instead of like corporate. It's a pyramid for a reason. You got all the little people at the bottom, and the big people at the top got all the money.
Yeah.
And if you look back at the past, you look back at the 40s and 50s, you had, that's the last time that we could say that there was a family unit, and the man went to work, the wife stayed at home. Then, further down the line, they're like, well, computers and technology and machines are going to eliminate the need for a 40-hour work week. And in the future, we're going to have less time at work, more time at home, and more pay. And in a way that has happened, but it's the opposite has actually happened. And now the people get paid less or the same, and the people at the top get all the benefit and all the profits that come from the machines, the technology, the computers, and all that stuff. And it's like, I feel like if more people had the structure that you and I embody, we wouldn't necessarily be in the position as a humanity that we're in right now, because we wouldn't tolerate those conditions.
Right. And I think a part of that, it's a revolution on the rise, because a lot of people think a revolution is just one event. No, it's a constant moving process of the end result will be revolutionary. Yeah, but the revolution is not a one-time event. And even if we study history, a lot of, the perfect storm was, coming together and bubbling under the surface, so to speak, for a long time before it finally reached its zenith. And then that's where the revolution was at, so I'm working on a lot of things that I keep kind of quiet, but I can tell you this. Ultimately, my long-term goal is I'm moving south, and I'm going to build a lot of industries and re-educate people. Because I'm a believer that we're so thrown off right now, and there's so many people. It's so interesting that you're 47, but you're still open-minded, because I feel like most people over 35 are pretty much set in their ways already and what they're going to do, unless it's some type of concerted effort to, change that. Which, when you're getting up in age, you have to be wanting to do it, because you're already pretty much locked in a schedule. Which is, to be fair, it's kind of hard to change. It's kind of unreasonable to ask somebody that's changed, that's happy with whatever they have going on or whatever the case may be. But I've always been what's the alternative? That's kind of always had to be like, okay, this is how it is, but it don't have to be like that. I always look like, okay, what options do I have in front of me? So I'm working on a lot of things. A lot of this, and the new radio station I'm working to develop a relationship with, Voice of the People Radio, which is honestly, we own our own VPN, which means we're pretty much self-contained. So Eric, I'll exchange information. Do you have a Twitter before we lose contact on here? Because I don't like the way Haps have it set up, how you communicate. You can't really do anything private. I don't like that. So do you have
Twitter? I've kind of had that same thing. Yeah, I just recently got on Twitter when I got on Haps, so unfortunately, it's just not on my radar. I don't really check it ever, to be honest. But I'm on Facebook. Got Instagram. Facebook's my main thing. Like, I check that every day. I don't even check my email every day. But I need to change that. I should But yeah, you can definitely get a hold of me through whatever way.
Let's do Instagram because well, you say you check Facebook more, right? Okay, we could do Facebook then.
Okay.
Well, Eric, as it appears on here, correct?
Yeah, just Eric Hypes. I think there's only one or two other ones. I think there's two more now, but
Eric
I think
Hypes. I see the hair, so I know this is you. Yep, I see the hair or whatever. I just added you or whatever.
Sweet. Thank you.
Yep. So that's interesting that we've discussed these things because I don't want to lose contact with you. And as far, I'm working on a lot of stuff, Eric, between this and VOP. VOP, we own our own. And the reason I added you because they want me to bring more people over. And you so far, the way you sound, you're definitely a prospective person that fits the vision of Voice of People. So we'll talk in private about iron out all those details that we need to discuss because unfortunately we got to keep things private because one of the last things I want to ask you before we go forward because I need to eat dinner is people I don't know if you've been bombarded with this but it's a concerted effort by the larger corporations, specifically Google in this particular case. They own YouTube. People are getting flagged like crazy for various reasons, getting their videos that they've put blood, sweat, and tears and so much content behind. Like they'll do this crazy crap where they'll take your video down and you go through their Nazi process of, appealing it and all that type of stuff. And they'll give you the channel back, but all your videos are gone. That's like you steal my wallet and you give it back to me, but my credit card is gone, my money's gone. It's just a wallet, So I don't know if you've been hit by any of that, but they're definitely ramping down I'm talking about they taking down people that they have a foothold in YouTube. They've been on there since its inception. It's getting insane. That's why us over at VOP, we got our own VPN. Even if we get kicked off anything, they can't kick us off there. So that was the idea that the creator, I'm new to there, but it's people that's been on there forever. I know how to produce. They taught me how to produce a little bit. So we're trying to bring more people over there, but I'm very selective with people. Obviously, I chose you for a reason, and we'll discuss off air the reasons behind that and type of stuff. But unfortunately, you got to be secretive because these corporations are literally becoming like free speech will be all but non-existent in about the next 5 years. They're already wheels are in motion with that as we speak. But have you been kicked off any type of thing or been flagged or had any type of whole channels pulled in the last few years?
Yeah, just in the since I've been on HAPS, apparently Des and I were on, I think it was actually one of her broadcasts, but as on HAPS, my broadcast become your broadcast and I streamed to YouTube. So I didn't watch the whole video because it was like an hour and 55 minutes long, but I could probably recall that maybe we talked about this subject, but it was like minuscule in the hour and 55 minutes. And it was COVID related. And they sent me the whole thing like, you can't do this. Basically, if you don't prescribe to the WHO and you don't do this, but it did even go to the exact opposite. It said if you're saying such stuff as the vaccines are going to protect you, then we can flag and remove your video. So they flagged and removed that video. And I sent them a response saying, okay, well, I am a spiritual guy and I do talk about things from a spiritual perspective. So there might be other videos that I have that are flaggable. So give me some time to kind of go through here and either make them private or whatever, so that I don't get more, because that was just a warning. And then the next day, I had another one flagged, and they were from like months ago from that time. So I feel like somebody had seen me, didn't like what I'm talking about, and was actually watching and then reported it, because otherwise there's no like algorithm or anything that would have gone through there and just found this little titty bit. But yeah, I got one strike, and I feel for what you're saying. I know I've heard the horror stories. These people have got years invested, they've got thousands of subscribers, they have all this content, and it's just gone. They don't have any way of backing all that up. Yep. But my bigger thing is with like YouTube, I understand the perspective and the narrative. People are like, yeah, well, it's a corporation and you have to go by their rules. Yes, but it's called YouTube. They're giving you a platform and they are rewarded by you. And so your platform should be protected, like you said, under freedom of speech.
Mm-hmm.
And if there are current things going on in the world, and I don't care if it's a conspiracy theory or if it's actual conspiracy, we need to be able to talk about these things.
Mm-hmm.
We need to have platforms where we can address things and speak to them. Now, if somebody, gets on there and I'm not a doctor and I don't say anything or say you need to follow. In fact, I always say, don't follow me, go do what you need to do. But if you feel led or you feel in the same vibration as me, then search it out for yourself. But if somebody goes and jumps off a bridge because I said I did and I flew, that's not on me. That's on them,
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I was speaking metaphorically and maybe they were really high. I don't know, they're responsible for their decisions no matter what the content is that they've heard from that makes them react instead of respond in a way. But yeah, I have been flagged, and one of my soul sisters, Helga, she's been really talking about wanting to find places that we can talk about things like and not be fearful and not have to be secretive. Because I'm like you, I'm like an open book, and so to all of a sudden be flagged and reprimanded and told if I keep doing this, they'll just rip my whole channel out from under me. I'm like, all right. At one point, I'm like, I need to back all this stuff up that's important to me. So if I do piss them off, forget them. Who cares? But as long as I don't have it backed up, I'm like, oh yes, master. I got to do what you say, master. Don't kick me off because I don't have any of this backed up.
Right. And the hypocrisy, and I want to go back to what the emphasis you put on the word "you" in YouTube, and the hypocrisy of YouTube, and I think Google taking over them was one of the worst things that ever happened to YouTube. Even though I love the search engine Google because it's literally not nothing you can't find on there, but they have a bias against anyone that's a free thinker or that tends to be conservative. They have a very big bias against it, and anybody
very
that's
liberal,
absolutely. Anybody that's been on there more than 5 seconds can figure that out. So YouTube in itself, like we're providing you with the content. Yes, we're bringing the ads to you through our content. So how dare you flag? You know what I mean? Like, but I'm sorry, it sounds like you're going to say something. Go ahead.
Oh no! I was just like, oh my god, you took the words out of my mouth because like I gotta watch your commercials when I watch the videos because I'm not paying the $11 to subscribe every month. But at the same time, you're gonna control my speech when I'm providing content for you to profit off of.
Right.
I ain't getting nothing. I ain't getting paid for this. But
that's why I love this HAPS model. And of course, we're still in the beta stages, which means more things are to come as we go along. And hey, I give HAPS suggestions all the time. I literally tweet them at least once a week, like this is screwing up. I can't even load out of the thing. You know what I mean? I baked this a week ago, and I got 50 people that's already initially want to look at it, and I had to repost the thing, which makes me lose the people. So that type of stuff upset me, you know what I mean? But I get on them about it, and I'm learning how to code myself so I can help them out. I know how to code a little bit. So
nice.
If it's anything I can help them with, just ask for help. You know what I mean? This is a communal effort. You know what I mean? So we might have different views, but all skills apply the same no matter what. You know what I mean? A screwdriver works no matter what screw you put it in. You know what I mean? As long as it's the right screw. But a tool works the same, and no matter what your skin color is, your political views, a tool is a tool. You know what I mean? So
I don't want to bring up things to complain, but if I'm losing people, then whatever I'm going to bring up is going to help you in the end get more people. Because the thing I've been experiencing now, like I got on here at the end of January, started consecutively signing in February, and I noticed that the Facebook people that are commenting in the chat come up as Facebook user a lot of times. And I'm like, ooh, that kind of sounds bad. But then also I've experienced it. I broadcast on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch, and I've noticed over the last 3 months that on all of those platforms, sometimes I don't get all the comments. And then in the last month, I've actually noticed that I'm not getting more than 80 or 90 and even 100% of the comments off Facebook, which is where I have the biggest following from. So, and I actually have some spiritual professional people, broadcasters, that have actually commented on my feed. I'm like, oh, yay, but I didn't address them. And so then I'm having to apologize saying I wasn't ignoring you. And it's like what you're saying. How am I going to get them to want to come over to Haps if I'm not even able to connect fully with them when they're on another platform? And that's the main purpose of this platform, is to broadcast to multiple platforms. So
Right.
it's kind of, yeah, it's frustrating. But at the same time, I'm seeing other people get ripped apart as soon as they bring up questions. Oh, you're being a negative Nancy or this or that. And I'm like, whoa, whoa. These people are bringing up legitimate things. Their computers
Yeah.
got fried, this, that, and the other. Like you're saying, you know, the people aren't going to come if they don't see that the product is worth it.
Absolutely. And I don't know if you, this is just a little something I've learned as I've gone along. If you have an iPhone, which I don't know what you have, it probably works similar.
I just have a desktop. That's the only way I do it. Yeah.
Okay. So depending on what you have, what kind of desktop you have, I would imagine if you have any type of Windows or like a decent little MacBook, something I've noticed from mobile devices and certain like Apple products or Windows, it works way better on mobile devices because it's more that the phone is more capable of higher using the app, because the app on the phone is not beta. The web browser is beta. So I have had no connection problems whatsoever from my phone. My only thing is I'm being broadcasted from a web camera because this is my studio I'm in. I do all my stuff from, this is a preset area in the house where I do my stuff. So I won't have to always be limited to a phone. The phone's all zoomed in on my face. And I think I'm a handsome person, but I don't want you seeing everything in my face that close. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, so sometimes I'll do certain stuff from the phone, but I like the freedom of having my hands free range while I can move or open other tabs while someone else is holding down the floor on the podcast. And because my podcasts are very interactive, you'll see that when my other guest hosts are on here with me. They're off tonight, but we'll be back tomorrow night to do a podcast. But you'll see we're very interactive. I produce while they speak or whatever. So like, I like it. I don't have to hurt my voice. That's why you'll see me in the comment really encouraging people to call in. I'm very communal like that. So unless you're a dick and you're being, uncooperative, then there's no place for you around me. But other than that, I'm open to meet anybody, help anybody, communicate with anybody, internet. So I don't like the restriction, even though it functions better on the phone, which drives me insane. I don't want to have to always set up my tripod and have this little limited space. And when you have guests on from the phone, you could barely see them. They're in like this little nickel-sized box, and you'd be like, I think that's Eric, but is it Eric? Like you can't see anything, So it's a pro and con. But what I've noticed that it functions better, it works better from phones.
Wow.
Even the cameras are almost like pretty much 4K from the thing. So yeah, and that's something that I learned from just playing around with this thing or whatever. And as far, I heard you mention earlier that you're not that tech savvy. That's something I can definitely help you with because I'm pretty tech savvy. So I can help you with it. Even if if I'm not on your show or whatever. And I'm gonna give you my number too. I'm gonna inbox you on Facebook Messenger. So if it's anything you need to ask me, like, because it's always easier to get in contact with me through my phone because I have my phone more than anything. I'm not always married to social media. When I'm on it, I'm on it. When I don't need to be on it, I'm not on it. I'm around the house doing something else or something like that. But if you need anything, just the phone, I'll have it and I can hop on and produce for you or anything you need me to do. If you want me to produce your show, or if it's like, I don't get this, how I open this or that with Haps, and I can teach you how to do it because I'm pretty good at technology.
Do you utilize OBS?
Yes, I do have OBS because I'm a Twitcher from time to time too. So I have OBS and Twitch Studio. Actually, I need it for Voice of the People. As a producer, we use OBS, so I use it all the time. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's something I I want to eventually. I can see the creative freedom of
Mhm.
being able to utilize OBS, and
Yep.
the guy that got me on Twitch through the dreams and stuff. He's very creative. He's making artwork and frames and backdrops and all these things, and I'm like,
Yep.
wow, that's make the viewers very immersed into
Absolutely.
whatever it is.
Absolutely. And OBS is a big learning curve, but after a few times after you do it, it's you know what I mean? I would say after like just sitting there for like 2 full days and playing around with it, you'll get the gist of it. Because the hard part is going through the multiple layers and remembering this layer has all the videos, this layer has the comments, this has the other stuff. It can be a steep learning curve if you're not very open to learning a lot. And if you're just a gamer or whatever, or even with art, if you're just broadcasting art, the beta Twitch, it's not beta anymore. Actually, they updated it like 3 or 4 months ago, but Twitch Studio will probably be a little better for you because it does all that for you. You know, you're just clicking here and there for that, but OBS can be steep.
Yeah.
Hours.
I feel that. Yeah, Desiree says, y'all could chat for hours. LOL. Like mine. Yeah, I feel like you're a brother, man.
Yeah, likewise, man. And dude, it was funny that you came out with the gate with Knoxville because that's one of my favorite places to visit. I've been out west because you said I've been to Nevada twice. I've been specifically Las Vegas or whatever.
Okay.
I'm a pretty good card player. I'm really good with cards, and I know I figured out the algorithm of slot machines. I actually teach classes on how to do that on my podcast.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, I'm kind of a jack of all trades like you. I'm probably not as profound because you got age over me. So I don't probably know a whole lot. The only thing I'll probably be able to give you a little bit of run for your money is technology. Everything else, I'm pretty sure you're a lot more well refined than me because just to the age difference, obviously. But Dez, I can listen. I can't wait to get you on once that fan finally come in because I was jealous when you were on Takara's show and I'm like, Dez don't love me anymore. I'm joking.
Oh.
Yeah, because me and Takara got fake beef. We got fake beef going on.
Yeah, I love Takara. Too.
Yeah, Takara's cool. I just like to ruffle her feathers from time to time or whatever. She's a Midwesterner too. She's from out Midwest with me too or whatever. So yeah, like man, Eric's part of the family now. Whenever he wants to get on, or if he just wants to hang out in the comment, all you got to do is say add me. You know, in the comment, add me to the video. Boom, I'm sending you an invite. You want me to come on your end? Hit me up on Facebook. Hit me up on here. I'll see it or whatever. And I'll be like, yeah, Eric, I'll get up because y'all have some man. Sometimes when people have these spiritual conversations, some of the stuff that I'm not privy to, I'll just sit and listen and learn. You know what I mean? I just like to. And because I got buddies out west, they live in San Diego, and they get into like the deep government stuff. Like they be like, I don't even know how they know some of this stuff. You know what I mean? Like they just get, but they can't reveal themselves because of that. Like I only ever heard their voice. You know what I mean? I don't know what they look like because they get into stuff that obviously can get them in a lot of trouble or whatever. So that's what VOP, Voice of the People Radio is for. Shout out to VOP, Dan and the whole family. Or whatever. We might have a new recruitee here, Eric, or whatever. We got to see what his time is like and how much of his schedule he can commit. And we're gonna have to get you on that schedule because Eric, man, it's freedom of speech over there, art. And then the good thing about VOP is we have once you get set up with them, you'll be able to connect your if you go under like where you link your other social medias to, it say add the little RTSD and VOP is not an option, obviously, because it's not a popular app. They'll give you the little codes that you need, and you'll be able to simulcast on VOP and on HAP, so you won't lose your HAP audience at all. We'll get you set up with all that type of stuff. So,
sweet.
Yeah. So it's a couple artists over there already. We got artists already on the network that are brilliant. All type of graphic designers, and man, it's a nice little community we building over there. Dan's put in great work with the all that good stuff or whatever. So, Eric, is there anything final you want to push? And you're welcome to come back tomorrow. Tomorrow will be more video game, not video, but more. It'll be like Jeopardy setup. So we call it Wild Out Wednesday. It's the exact same time, 5:30 or whatever. Now you follow me, so you'll get the bulletin when I go live. Because at first, Dez had to tag you to see that we were here. But now that you follow, tomorrow will be similar base, but it'll be more of a male versus female. In like a Jeopardy type setup where we'll ask questions about the opposite sex and stuff like that, and and we would do rewards, and we have it set up where if whoever lose, the opposite people get to pick your punishment. Like you might have to sing an embarrassing song, or if you partake in alcohol, you'll have to take a drink of alcohol and stuff like this. It's fun. We have it set up. We do it intermittent because a lot of my content is wrestling and MMA based because that's what my background's in. But this week we don't have a whole lot of MMA to cover, so we're filling in the gaps. We're bringing back Wild Out Wednesday this week, so that's a pretty popular one or whatever. We have what's called Hood Jeopardy, and we'll play a Battle of the Sexes Jeopardy. It's pretty fun stuff. So that'll be tomorrow, 5:30 Central Time, for the commute home, so everybody can participate. I purposely make it later because I work from home, so I purposely make it where everybody get off work so they can have process to unwind and from the day and all that. And we have a good time. And I also have a movie series that you're welcome to come into. It's not really a movie series. It's more, we call it the Jerk Reel. It's literally all me and my guest host initials. And we figured out like, oh crap, TJR is our initials and we could call it the Jerk Reel. So it was some thinking that went into it. But essentially what it is, I don't know if you're familiar with Trauma Entertainment, the people that make the purposely bad B-rated movies. Like they made like the Toxic Avenger. They made Redneck Zombies, silly stuff like that. Like it's kind of like lampooning, like usually serious genres and stuff like that. But what we do is we'll watch a bad movie like that or whatever, or at least sometimes watching the clips or whatever, depending on what it is. We'll watch it in clips and we'll just laugh at how ridiculously goofy it is. And then after we'll finish watching, we'll go to Internet Movie Database and read what other people thought about it. So that's something we also do intermittent. We're in season 2 of that. It just started actually Sunday. So Thursday we have that coming. So you're welcome to join in. Tomorrow's topic, the Jerk Reel on Thursday. We have a lot of, my podcast is like a a la carte of topics. Even though I'm a combat sports person, but and a performer, but my backdrop is social stuff and financial, how to get your finances in order. We talk about a little bit everything. So this is an a la carte variety type thing, and we love to have you now as part of the family, as is Des. I always pick on Des because Des, I've been trying to find a female guest host so long, and Des is probably the closest person that I've gotten that's actually a female guest host. Because a lot of them, like, they get too caught up in the I'm a strong woman thing, and some of the males on my show might rub them the wrong way with some of their convictions. So that's been a roadblock with getting a female guest host, so to speak. And because I've been over here since December 23rd, so just barely a few weeks before you, I came over here. Because I don't know if you ever heard of Periscope, but I came from Periscope. That's what I'm from.
Yeah, I went to Periscope once or twice to watch this Michael guy but I was already signed into Twitch once I heard about the Periscope, so I was like, it's just one more place to try and remember the password. So I never really did. I went to Periscope like once or twice, I think.
Okay. It was
but I hear there was a lot of good stuff in there.
Yeah, and the good thing about it, you can get, just like Haps took the model and added to it they took the same model that Periscope had, but expanded on it because Periscope didn't have it where you could be linked to more than one social media platform. They have it over here where you can. So the good thing I liked about Periscope, and I hate because it was owned by Twitter, and I hate that it went under, was that you could be directly sent funds or any type of feedback to fans direct. You don't have to start an OnlyFans or a Patreon, and that's what I liked about everything was so integrated. Because people always ask me, TJ, are you going to start OnlyFans or Patreon? And the question is no. For one, I'm not going to charge y'all tier money. I'm not going to sit there and come up with, I'm not even going to be able to think of like, okay, how do I charge people $5 versus $25? I don't want to have to sit there and think of something like that.
I know it makes a whole lot. I created a Patreon, but I've not done anything with it because I'm like, God, that adds a whole bunch more work. Like I got to if you donate this, I got to have some kind of prize for this or that or the other or some reward. And I'm like, the reward is just the exchange. And if you feel like you need to give, then give. If not, hopefully it does something for you.
Yeah, that's exactly where I'm at with it. I don't feel that. And I've taken off quick. Like April was my best month. I got raided by a bunch of people. I'm not sure if you might have heard of Sweet Pea. You know Sweet Pea Leslie?
Oh, yeah.
She's from Tennessee as well. She started to spread the smiles, which April was my best. No, May, actually. No, this is May. April was my. I had a great month, April. So a lot of donations, and then shout out to Sweet Pea for that. She ironically is from Tennessee as well, or whatever. So y'all Southern folk got that charm thing down pack. I see. She's like one of the sweetest people I ever met. You know what I mean? Especially for us being two different races. She's awesomely sweet, or whatever. But yeah, she really did the spread the smiles thing, and I took off greatly. So I don't feel like I don't want to have to stretch my fans too thin. Where, oh, come here for this or that. Then, like you said, that's another thing I got to remember to sign in. I'm not trying to do all that. You know, I like it that you can have everything sent here. I might have a PayPal. I don't even know if I remember the login for it, but I'm sure I got somewhere. But everything is, you know, here where I can cash out or whatever I need to do or whatever. So I like that a little better or whatever. But man, I'm glad we had Eric today. We're going to try to get him back again when the time is right. Like I said, he's welcome to come tomorrow, which I would love to have him tomorrow, because it's going to be a little more laid back and fun or whatever. And thank everybody here for being here, because, man, we went from 20 to 174 some type of way, 4 major likes and 2 donations. So I am just humbled that I'm sure I wouldn't have been able to do that without Eric and Mr. 2 Extra. And Eric will be getting sent some coins to his channel soon for being great. Oh, that, by the way, I pay people when they get on my thing some type of way. Like I always, if you become a full-time worker here, you get paid for me. If you come on a couple videos, I'm going to send you some coins. That's how we do it. I had at one point, I don't know how crazy that was. I had about, I think, 16,000 coins that I just harvested. And I'm like, why in the world do I have this many coins? And I just started sending them to people. I had like 16,000 coins. I don't even know how. But I sent them all out. And because I'm a work machine, you see me on here literally all the time. I'm always doing something. Because I get very restless and bored, so I got to do something. You know what I mean? When I'm done with stuff around the house, I got to get on here and exchange. And because that's what learning is. You know what I mean? Learning is exchange night. That's how I met Dez. That's how I met you. That's how I met Leslie, Takara. And I'm the type of person, if you look interested, I'll go take the chance to try to get to know you, even if you're not going to be very receptive. I think I met Takara random, like super random. I was just like, hey, girl, that's always on here smiling with the cards. Get on my thing or something like that. You know what I mean? So I was kind of poking at her for a while. She finally got on my video. Dez just randomly popped up, and we're cool now. So, yeah, it was a pleasure having Eric today. Unfortunately, I got to go because I got to eat dinner or whatever. I can literally, like Dez said, I could talk to Eric forever. And I'm a very late sleeper. I don't know how Eric sleeps, but I usually don't go to bed till about 4 a.m. So if I catch Eric later on after I done ate, you know, and let my brain rest a little bit, if I catch him on a video, I'm hopping on with him again or whatever. Because I'm a very, very late sleeper, so I might catch him later. If not, though, you'll catch me tomorrow. Hopefully we'll be able to have the privilege to have Eric back in the house with us today. Make sure y'all go subscribe to Eric on Twitter. All his great art, all his great spiritual work, his wisdom. I felt blessed to just have him just the hour or so that I had him here. You know what I mean? And it's just been a great exchange. Thank you, Dez, for bringing him over today. And this is a friendship I'm really looking forward to cultivating. Shout out to Dez and Eric. Air horns for both of them. Thank you. Make sure you go follow Eric Hypes over on his Haps channel and continue to experience of all the great things you have coming. All righty. Thank you, Eric.
Much love, TJ. Thank you.
Likewise, man.